Good afternoon. I'm Seafood Dave Charlesworth here from Kajukenbo Napoli, and I've got Senior Guy Master Anthony Jimenez with me here tonight. I wanted to make a quick video. Well, maybe not such a quick video, so I apologize in advance here for probably the length of this video, but it's definitely something that I think you all will be interested in seeing. It's one of those things where I know that there's a lot of people out there that have done this kind of research. Um, and probably come up with the same or similar conclusions that we're going to discuss here today. And I'm kind of wondering why there aren't more historians or senior, black belts in Kajukenbo that are bringing this stuff up and at least discussing these things and talking about these things that we're going to go over today.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and we're not out. You're not out to hurt anybody or try to start anything, but it's just bringing out some facts and good reading. Good watching video to watch and stuff. So a lot of Kaja Kimber practitioners out there will be able to see pretty much see the truth.
Wow. Because there's a lot of other things that we could probably go into and we could talk about.
On the boa thing, like I said, when I was talking about clean house, but that's what I was talking about the other day with some of the other grandmasters. I would like to see the ones that are still alive, the old grandmasters on that board. That's what I want to see. I don't want to see. I don't want to see. I mean, like uh, Grandmaster
Al Dela Cruz?
Frank Cariaga. I like to see him. Even though he's on there, I'm gonna see him more. Like he's an old timer. Dela Cruz is on there. The Costco's people in that kind of realm to be on that thing. I'm not trying to bash the other guys, but those guys need to all go. You know, and put the old guys up there because for myself being their senior, the lower ones. Okay, I'm not gonna sit there and listen to have them tell me who I can promote and who I can't promote. I look up there and I see all the top guys. Like if I would have seen because when they were alive, if I would have seen Gaylord and Batista and people like that, people that I grew up worshiping, going, oh my God, Alan Reyes. Those are the kind of people that then I would have totally 100,000% respect for what they're doing. That's just my opinion. And
Yeah.
I said that once before, and someone said, "Oh, it's all new blood." I don't want to hear the new blood. I want to see the people that've been there and done that. I don't want to see people that got Uncle Frank promoted, because he just did, or uh, you know, Greg Rivera promoted her, and then she skipped all over and went to there because he's mad at Gabe and he's on there and stuff like that. And and I'm not to take nothing away from any of their martial arts ability. Um, Even Ron Stellar, I mean, you have an A black belt, you got a C black belt, A black belt, you got a B black belt, a C black belt. I'm not saying bad, but Ron Stellar, it was a B black belt. I mean, he went to the tournaments, he did okay. I mean, he didn't, he fought in the older division, but, at least he got out there and tried. I can't take that away from him. He knew his stuff. I have no problem with that. None whatsoever. It's just the two-facedness and the backstabbing that he did. That's the part I get at. It has nothing to do, about his teaching part, because he trained with Jim Juarez. Jim Juarez was a good teacher, and stuff like that. It's just the two-faced stuff, or the backstabbing, or the politic crap. He just needs to stop on that.
Well, I think, what's really strange to me, and this is something that I could talk about with some level of detail because this is not my research that I'm talking about here. But what I want to know is for one, when did rank become so important in Kajukenbo? When we come from some pretty humble beginnings. Okay, there's basically two different storylines for Kajukenbo history on where Kajukenbo came from and how Kajukenbo was developed. You have the fairy tale version, okay, which is what's in John Bishop's book, where we're talking about five grandmasters came together, they formed the Black Belt Society. The Black Belt Society each contributed their own style. Tang Soo Do, Sakino Jiu-Jitsu, Kodokan Judo, Old Pine Tree style Kempo, um, you know, Northern and Southern styles of Sulum Kung Fu, right? And then you have the Mitch Powell version, where he's done some pretty serious research And he puts out a different version where essentially five young men came together, okay, none of which were black belts in 1947, okay, when they came together. The highest ranking was a brown belt, okay, which was, Joe Hulk, okay, in jiu-jitsu. He got his black belt the following year in 1948, okay, shortly followed by Sijo getting his black belt from Chow, okay, when he was a white belt in 47, okay, as shown by a picture that he cited. Okay. Um, so there is no black belt society. Okay. And he infers essentially that when those two got their black belts, they must have promoted everybody else to black belt and then made the black
Yeah,
belt society. But from talking to some other grandmasters in Hawaii, the black belt society actually happened like 15 years later. And
sure.
Sijo liked Black Belt Society name, and it became kind of part of that official storyline kind of thing. Okay. So there's a lot of things that probably need to be clarified in our history. And if anybody's interested in in the uh, the other version, okay, I have the article that was given to me by oh my goodness, by Mitch Powell. Okay. Uh, they, I've considered actually posting it to my website or something so that people can see it. But
Mhm.
if you want it, let me know and I'll send it to you. Send me your email in the comments and I'll send you a copy of that article. He said I could share it with anybody. And he's actually done a video of it now since the video that I made over a year ago.
Yeah,
Angel Farrar made a video with Mitch Powell talking about the very same thing. Okay, where they're talking about our humble beginnings in the early development of Kajukenbo. Okay, so things are a lot different. And to be honest with you, um, that was probably one of the reasons why uh, there are no clear standards across Kajukenbo. Okay, a lot of people say, oh, no, that's because once you get your black belt, you're expected to go out, train some more in another style and add to it. And, okay, okay, that's fine. Add to it all you want. Okay. In fact, Rod Steller in his statement said that I've trained in three other styles since then. Okay, good for you. I'm glad for you. Good job. Keep it up. Keep training. Okay. But the thing about it is one of the bad things I think that's come up as a result of that is a lot of people have picked up that jujitsu thing, that talk shit kind of attitude that comes along with the MMA world of things. Of, this is how we act in the MMA world. We try to psych our opponents out or whatever, whatever the case may be, like it's a weigh-in or something. Okay. We are a martial art and there is some discipline, there's some honor, there's some responsibility, there is, loyalty and everything else that's supposed to come into play. Okay. And I even have people tell me that, well, I'm part of the problem because of these videos that I make. Okay. Like this. And to be honest with you, I think this is something that we need to do. We need to hit it head on. We need to talk about this stuff. We need to
sure.
have this conversation amongst ourselves. Okay. But the problem is the narrative keeps getting distorted by those who want it to read in one way or another. You
Yeah,
know,
and it's not that you're showing fact,
yeah,
so they don't want to see it because you're showing fact. You're just not talking out of your ass, going, "Well, I heard from Joe Blow and da 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 da." That's all. You showing pictures, videos, people them talking,
yeah,
them signatures. How can they argue with that?
yeah. And
You know.
that's the thing is, and I'm not trying to pull the wool over anybody's eyes. I'm not trying to manufacture anything. I didn't go out and print up a totally different version of the Kajukenbo family tree so I can discredit Ron Esteller. That's not what I was doing. I pointed out these are the BOA standards. Okay, this is the BIOS. Check, 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 check. Okay, here's the family trees. Check, 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 check. Oh, I'm concerned about this one. And I didn't even say that he didn't deserve to be a grandmaster. I said that's concerning. That's all I said.
Oh
Okay.
yeah, there's in my doubt. There's no doubt that he's a grandmaster. I mean, that's
Yeah.
his. He's put his time in, and he's done a great, a job on a lot of stuff. I said there's nothing that I would never dispute that. I would never say
Yeah.
that. I would never say, well, I don't know. I didn't see your third degree certificate from Jim Juarez. I didn't see that.
Yeah.
So you must be a third degree then. I didn't do that. I mean, obviously he's a grandmaster. I mean, he's put his time
Yeah.
in. He's done whatever he had to do. It's just sometimes he needs to,
Yeah.
zip the mouth and be straight.
Yeah.
You know,
Well, there's a couple other things I wanted to touch on too, was like, for example, you know, I don't know how much you know about the Joe Imperato story, or the pink elephant, um, what happened there and what the circumstances that led up to his death, you know.
yeah,
You know, what really gets me is we have two Kajukenbo KSDI designated historians, right? Both of which are retired police officers. Okay. Both of which have got investigative skills that they were taught throughout their time in, serving our nation as police officers, right? And, I know Mitch Powell's done a lot in looking at the origins of Kajukenbo and the early years and how things have happened. And he's made a lot of videos about that. Um, but what I'd be interested to find out about is how come these two retired police officers haven't looked at the police reports, the witness statements, the autopsy report, from when Joe Imperato was killed. Okay. And how all these things and what we're being told don't really add up to, you know, what all the witness statements and everything else say. I mean, if you haven't read David Tavares's book about the events that night, uh, and I think one of the things that was said was is Walter Godine ran away. Well, that's not what happened according to the witnesses. That's not what happened according to his statement that he made to the police at the Pink Elephant, you know, or following the event, you know. So all these things just don't add up, and then there's what all these guys said, and then there's what, was officially said later on down the road, And so it's kind of one of those things where, what's the real story? And I know that recently, based off of the research that Mitch Powell did, they designated Joe Imperato as a co-creator. Okay.
yeah.
Um, to be honest with you, I almost feel like he did more than that, you know,
True.
and I feel as though that, well, I mean, there's a Black Belt magazine article out there, uh, where they interviewed Ramos. Okay. And it says some things in that article that kind of made me go, "What?" You know, like one of the things that it says is that he was a student at the Palama Settlement for 11 years, never once saw Cjo teach a class.
Yeah, I asked one of the grandmasters yesterday about that because I knew you were going to bring that up, and he said the same thing. He said he'd never seen a pizza class.
Yeah, so I mean, to me, that's kind of strange considering that if he's the founder and the only founder that actually pushed Kajukenbo forward, right? And that's why
Yeah.
Cjo, right?
Mm-hmm.
And he never taught a class at the Plymouth Settlement. And from my understanding is Joe used to lock the doors, lock everybody in, and they did class, and people stumbled out of there, like they just got in a bar brawl and got their asses kicked. And
Well, and it's funny because uh, this has been Vargas in the very beginning. He was that way. If you didn't bleed that night, it wasn't a good class, and you
yeah,
couldn't see in the windows because it was so steamed up. I remember this is the '70s, and they beat the hell out of each other, and then we'd be all bloody and punched, and stuff like that. Of course, you can't do that now because you get sued, but that's the way it was. And when I was growing up, to be honest with you, even when I got my black belt, yeah, I hear certain things about the Imperato thing and all that, this, and that, but we could really care less. We just focused on Gaylord. And
yeah,
Gaylord, I have to admit, he was in all the black belt classes. In fact, for the last year or two, the black belt classes were held at my studio. And he was there. He'd come down to my studio once a week. He'd work. I'd take him to my open studio. He'd teach those guys, and then, so he was out there. He didn't sit in a chair, and just point fingers. He was actually working out with everybody, showing the techniques and hitting and stuff like that. So that's one thing I can say about great Grandmaster Gaylord, he went out there and did it. He wasn't just
Yeah.
all talk, you
Well, you
know.
know what else kind of got me? I think it's the same Black Belt magazine article that was talking about McCandless, right? And one of the things that I remember, and I actually quoted and played a piece of the video where Cjo was interviewed, and he stated that McCandless, you know, was teaching classes at the Palama Settlement, and he saw what they were teaching for Kajukenbo, and he liked what he saw. And essentially, McCandless wanted to come underneath them and learn Kajukenbo. And he was willing to start over as a white belt. And Emperor said, "No, no, no, you're a black belt. You keep your black belt. You'll learn it
Yeah,
eventually by helping me teach." Okay. And I played that cut of video in one of my videos, right? Um, this Black Belt magazine article makes a statement about how when all of Chow's black belts and or went their separate ways, right? That Emperado went and joined McCandless's Kempo class at the Palama Settlement. And when McCandless died, Emperado took over the class and renamed it the Kajukenbo Self-Defense Institute of Settlement. And it was like, whoa, this is a Black Belt magazine article. This isn't, uh, so to me, it kind of makes me go, what? Okay, now I know
yeah,
that some of these people that write Black Belt magazine articles are just, people like us that write an article, submit it to Black Belt, they send
yeah,
it and they print it, right?
yeah,
But I read that and I was like, whoa, that's completely different than the narrative, that we have, been told, you know. And it's just one of those things. I mean, we have a couple guys, like I said, that are, KSDI historians, right? Well, and that brings up another thought on my fact is how come if we have KSDI archives, those things are hidden from the rest of us? Why don't we all have access to that?
yeah. They don't want to know. They want to sit back and play the big Indian. They don't
You
want anybody
know,
to know stuff.
is it because there's people like me that are going to read it? They're going to go, wow, words me have meaning. And, I'm going to look at this. I'm going to say, okay, that doesn't mean that. That means this, right? So, and that might be part of it too. I don't know, but I sure would like to have some more transparency in that arena of things and be able to see things and read them for myself. So if we was to put those kind of things online where the rest of us can see them, and obviously we'll never know if we're seeing everything and 100% complete. Um, and I know they talk about Cjo was writing like a memoirs kind of thing. Well, how about putting those somewhere where the rest of us can read it? That'd be
I
kind of,
doubt if he was trying. I doubt if he was writing. He's probably just somebody. He was having somebody who was telling people certain things.
yeah. So,
But then again, I've been through that with interviews and stuff. I did had nothing to do with Cardi. It was a something happened as a murder thing a while back. Anyway, the guy came to my studio and he wanted to do this newspaper article on me because it's Vegas. What happened? I don't want to get into that, but I told him, I said, no. I said, because you guys are going to write something that's not right. And he told me, he says, I promise I won't do that. It took this guy 3 months. And he came in probably twice, sometimes 3 times a week, just to run this article. And it was in the newspaper back then, back then it was like this now, but it was two full, complete pages. I mean, both sides, all the way down. It was on this murder thing. And but he put everything. He let me read it first, and I approved it, and then he posted it. And because sometimes they twist everything, and I didn't say that, and especially in the newspaper articles and stuff like that. So you have to take for granted sometimes what some people do write,
yeah.
but just like an article or whatever. But like you said, when you got proof in front of you, or you're talking to the person, there's no misunderstandings. So when I talked to Greg Legara about Glenn Pacelli, I didn't hear from three different people or Joe Blow down the street. I heard it from the guy that did it. So I mean that's how that works. But I just hope in 2025. Um, in Kajukenbo, things will get better. And I know that 2024 is probably the worst year Kajukenbo had, I think, with the backstabbing. And, I know it was for me. I mean, I've never, people always talk shit in the past, but never like last year. Just stuff that
Yeah.
was made up and stuff. And it was just horrific, you know.
Well, and that's the thing, I mean, and I always remember this is kind of funny because, people always ask, well, why do you guys wear black in Kajukenbo? You know? Um, and it's kind of one of those things. I remember, Sid always saying, why? Because good guys wear black, right?
Yeah.
Um, and they never really got into it, right? But some of the things is and there are some pretty good people in Kajukenbo, but then we also have had some pretty bad people. I mean, we've
Or,
mentioned,
just that's part of it. You can't have A players to everything. You're gonna get, I've had black belts that were C black belts. I mean, they weren't
yeah,
gonna get any better. But I never gave up on them.
yeah.
You know,
Well, I mean, well, that's like the guy that scored the lowest score in medical class and graduated. What do you call him?
but
Doctor.
yeah, exactly.
I mean, it doesn't matter. He's the last in his class. He's still a doctor, right? Uh, we got black belts like that too, and there's plenty of them, online. You can see their videos and stuff, and you can watch what they do, and you can say, "Wow, that guy's a black belt."
Yeah,
Um, and I'm sure some people might say that about me, because I got plenty of stuff online too. Okay, but I've seen other people that, have some pretty good reputations and whatnot, and I see them doing their techniques, and I'm going, "What?" Right? And then some of those guys they feel like they gotta validate themselves at every minute, of I did a 2-hour class today with my guys, and then they show themselves sparring with their students, and you're like, well, you probably shouldn't have showed that video.
yeah. Like I said the other day, when I told you a little bit earlier, what's his name? I forgot his name again, but I would put that video on him sparring. It was like two white belts out there going away, and I'm going, wow,
Yeah.
who would put that? But you can't let anybody put, you can't let anybody. This is kind of the philosophy thing, you can't let anybody tell you can't do it.
Yeah.
Okay? You just can't do it. Uh, I mean, just that
Well,
word, as long as you try. If it's like this, let's say for example, I'm gonna use business type of thing. Let's say I have one business. Okay, it didn't fail. Okay, it failed. Just hypothetically, it failed. Okay. Then I turn around and go, what should I do? Go, oh my God, I'm gonna go hide in bed all day long and feel sorry for myself because it failed. No, I'm gonna try the next business, see if it works. If that one didn't work, okay, I'm gonna go to the next one. Next thing you know, I hit the one that's working. Now all of a sudden you're a multi-millionaire sitting there, going, okay. Now if I would have gave up the very first time without trying, I wouldn't have been you wouldn't be successful. So you got to keep on going on and going on until you hit the right thing. And it's just that's what these guys need to do. They need to keep going on and not worry about it. Just, if someone tells you can't do it, yeah, okay, you know,
yeah.
and then just keep going. Next, you're one of the top federations in the world. You
Yeah.
know, so I mean,
Well, and that's the thing
that
though. I mean,
works.
is you got, and we got people that are, well, I'm going to go there again, but I mean, we've got plenty of our own problems. We've got people that have been jailed. We've got people who've been addicted to drugs and alcohol, convicted of crimes. I mean, let's face it, one of the reasons I'm underneath you is because my instructor was in jail,
Yeah,
right? And I couldn't get back with him, obviously, because he
yeah.
was in prison, right? We've got our issues and everything else, but that doesn't mean that we're gonna take those issues and we're gonna use them against everybody else and throw it in everybody else's face to make you look bad so that I look good. You know, um, I mean, we could even, there's a lot of different things that have happened, and over the last year and a half, I mean, hell, I got that one guy that keeps coming after me. He's like, show me your certificates when you were underneath Sid Lopez. And I was like, what do my colored belt certificates have to do with this conversation?
Yeah, they shouldn't even ask that anyway. I mean,
Oh,
yeah, he attacked me too. I didn't know this guy is. Then I researched him. If I come to find out, Tom Pye kicked him out, because he's a
Well, yeah.
troublemaker. He was
Well, the
like,
thing about it is the same guy 2 years ago in October was promoted to third degree. Today it says he's a fifth degree.
yeah,
Okay. But 2 years ago he's promoted to third degree. Today he's in fifth degree and he's talking shit about me. And it took me actually to get from blue belt to third degree almost 40 years.
yeah,
Right. So, and I'm not, just to clarify for this same individual, I'm not saying I'm a 40-year black belt and I should be a grandmaster like he tried to pull on me one day. What I'm saying is it took me that long to get from white belt all the way to third degree black belt. Okay. So it took me that long to get there. So I got the stick to itiveness to stay with it, and keep training. Okay. Obviously, my military career made it damn near impossible for me to continue doing what I needed to do.
yeah. But you're also protecting our country that they live in.
Yeah, and
Right?
protecting his ability to talk the shit that he talks.
That's right.
But I do know Washington pretty well, and there's probably a couple people I'd like to stop by and see while I'm in Washington next time I come home.
Who went open the door? Yeah, I won't tell a story. I don't want to tell a story, but yeah, when you call their bluff, it's funny, you know.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah,
that's
it's
the
just
thing too, and people have no idea what you and I do, what we've done via distance learning, what we've done when I come visit you down in Lake Tahoe. I mean, they don't know.
well, before we wrap this up, guys, it's gonna be like hella long, but this is funny. They kind of attacked me for a while there because we were teaching people from different countries like Zoom and stuff like that, and teaching them that way and stuff. And how can you teach people like that? Because you can't be on the mat with them, you can't hit them. I understand all that part. And then they put, which I'm trying to say nothing bad about him. So because I think they put John Hackelman's MMA under the KSTI now. Now all of a sudden he's got an online school, which is great. Pat him on the back. Congratulations. But I don't see them attacking him. Oh
Yeah.
no, they're going to put their head up his ass. Oh, what a great job.
Yeah.
But when we did it, it was like, oh my God, how can you do that? But now
Oh
they're guys
yeah.
doing it. Now all of a sudden, now it's like you don't hear nothing. They're all like little mice. These are
Oh
yes
yeah.
men.
There's a school in Italy that has an online curriculum, and it's really easy to get your black belt, says Angelo.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah,
Angelo, I have zero black belts, uh,
yeah,
and I don't have an online school yet. I'm thinking
yeah,
about it, but
yeah,
I
yeah,
don't.
exactly.
I
Yeah,
have a
that's
lot
what
of
I
techniques
said.
online.
That's only I comment on this thing. I said you need to research it better.
Yeah.
But those are the things I'm talking about. People take something and they turn it into a lie.
Yeah.
And actually, when he made that comment, he was talking to John Hackelman about people
Yeah.
about the online schools or what a joke it was, and then all of a sudden now he's got an online studio. So now let's see do his podcast and say how great it is. See, those guys are yes men and hypocrites, not John Hackelman and the other guys.
Yeah.
Like I
It is
said, I
what
don't
it
know.
is.
I don't know John Hackelman. I listened to him talk a few times. He's a smart guy. He's kind of
Oh yeah.
funny.
Well, he's
You know,
got some
I,
good fighters, I'll tell you that,
yeah, he put some good fighters out. Good
but
reputation. Just you know. So I listened, to a couple of his things, and it's you know, doing a good job.
yeah,
Can't take that from him.
I'll give a
So
shout out to him. But at the same time, I mean, I don't know. The double standards do exist, so maybe you just need to get yourself a UFC champion.
it won't make a difference. If I had best champion in the whole wide world, there'd be some reason why why this or they. It's always something. So
Well, I'll tell you, it ain't gonna be me.
me
I'm too
either.
freaking old and
I'm
disciplined.
old, too old, but yeah,
Yeah.
just well, like I said again, we wrap this up. I hope everybody had a good New Year, and like I said in my other video, just everybody work together and you know talk
Yeah.
to each other, do networking with each other. If this is so, it's just like this. If I see a guy that's successful, that's the guy I'm going to follow. Why would I follow the guy that's not successful?
Yeah.
No, you want to find the guy that's successful. So you look out there and you go, okay, this guy's doing this, this, and that. And now he's all of a sudden, he's way up there. Well, what's he doing that he's done that? That's what I want to do.
Yeah.
That's what these guys don't understand. They put the ego thing in there, and stuff like that. It's like, I have my studio. I had like 400 students, and these guys, except for the one that passed away from the KAA, Frank Waller, he's the one that came to me and asked for, me to help him out, and they see how many I have, but you think they would come to me and say, "Can you show me?"
Yeah.
No, because of the ego thing, and that's the way it was. The only one that did that was Jordan Powell, and they were kind of like the same thing I was just saying. They would see who's successful, and they would follow along. And Jordan did that and stuff like that. He would see, and would make it work. The others didn't. Now Jordan Powell's a successful martial arts studio.
Well, and what's funny too is and I know that you've said it several times throughout this video. Let's all work together to make Kajukenbo stronger. Let's all work together to build a good, strong family, right? And if they need help, you're more than willing to help them out, and we're willing to have dialogue with just about anybody, and talk to anybody and work with each other. It's
Well,
not a question of us versus you and you versus us and that sort of thing, and this, like I said, this whole video is not an attack on anybody. This is just a, hey, look
oh,
what I
sure,
found, look what I found, look what I found. Make your own decisions. I have my own opinions, right?
yeah,
I'm sure you have your own opinions, but what I ask you is, once again, why hasn't anybody else asked these questions? Okay.
sure,
Why hasn't anybody else come to these conclusions? And I know there's a lot of people that have, because I've talked to a lot of them, and I've talked to a lot of grandmasters that have come to these conclusions. Okay. But don't want to share that with everybody else. Okay. Because of the backlash that comes along with that. Myself, I really don't care. Okay.
yeah,
I'm throwing it out there for you guys. I hope you enjoyed what we talked about today. And I hope that maybe, some of you may have more that you can add to this. If you want to just reach out to me in private and share some information with me, fine. That's great. I'd love to hear it. If you want to get together, you want to do a podcast with me, I'd love to have you on my show and talk about
sure,
it.
yeah,
Okay. Let's learn from each other. Let's work together. I know that there's a movement to have a Kajukenbo Congress and whatnot to keep Kajukenbo pure, make Kajukenbo better, come up with some standards, that sort of thing. Okay, that's great. That's a wonderful idea. Okay, but like I said, if you're going to do that, you need to include everybody. Okay, and we all need to work together, right? You can't have a union and exclude a couple states. That's like having the United States, we have a Congress, but you know what? Hawaii and Washington State are not going to be represented. Okay, but you're going to accept whatever we come up with. That's
well,
my Congress, gentlemen.
well, I always said that too. I said this years ago. I said, why don't all just the heads and maybe their vice president get together at a nice restaurant or whatever and have a meeting, like a sit down, and everybody can talk. Not just when all the students come and all the assholes want to fight everybody. I'm talking about you sit down and you have a meeting. Everybody can dress nice. They have a nice dinner. They sit down, all the heads, and you work it out.
Yeah,
And exactly that's what needs to be done. If they don't want to work it out, okay, well that's fine. Well, at least we tried. And I said
yeah,
this a long time ago. I want we all the heads just get together. Not somebody walking in there. Oh, I'm gonna kick your ass. That type of thing. You sit down with like an
yeah,
adult, a businessman. You sit there and you discuss things.
yeah. Well, even the mafia can do that, right? They have a sit down,
Have a sit down, and
you know?
if you really pay attention, they have rules, and those rules aren't broken.
Yeah,
But you go by their rules, and that's it. I mean, that's the way it is now. Is there people left those meetings and got shot and killed? Of course, of course, But they sat down and had the thing, and nobody wants a war, nobody wants to fight. They all want to work together. So this is why all the heads need to get together. And I
there
would
you
love to put I would love to do that. I would love to get everybody to come on, not a YouTube thing, But it'd be kind of hard for everybody to meet someplace, but somehow that we can all, the main people get together. There's only so many associations, that can get together. Talking about Kajukenbo people,
Yeah,
like myself, KEA, KSTI, the Habuno group,
yeah,
people like that. I don't believe anybody out, but I mean, you know, Mr. Willis's group and stuff like that. Get together and just sit down.
yeah. In fact, I think that's a wonderful idea, and I'd love to see that happen. I invite all of you out there
Yeah,
who are in charge of your various organizations uh, to do that.
yeah,
How about we get together, we sit down, we talk, we hash things out, we work it out, we stop having these
sure,
conversations. You
yeah,
know, come up with a plan, a way forward. What is our way forward? Okay. Uh, Everybody says there'll never be a successor. Well, Cedro wanted there to be a successor. He wanted to be down his bloodline. Okay. Things didn't happen the way he wanted them to happen. They happened the way Dici wanted them to happen. Okay. And since then, that's kind of got a little bit perverted along the way. That's my assertion for the information that I've showed you tonight. And I think that that's something that you probably come to that conclusion yourselves if you look at the information that we talked about. There's a lot more information out there. If you want to share some of it, feel free, share it, send it to me.
yeah.
Make your own video. That's fine. Um,
And
I'm
let me
not
tell you
trying
that
to hurt
if,
anybody. I
if we
want
ever
to bring
sit,
us together.
if we ever sit down that and if somebody would video the whole thing, that would be like history.
I'd love to see that happen.
Yeah, it'd be
If
history.
you want to do it on a video, shit, I'll host it.
I know you will. Yeah, of course. Yeah, of
You want
course.
me to turn it on and walk away? I can do that too. You know, I have the platform, I have the subscription to Zoom that can handle it. All you grandmasters want to sit down and talk to each other, you can make that happen.
Yeah,
Okay. You want to set something up, we can make that happen too. I know we got a an event that's going to be happening in Lake Tahoe next year, or well, this year, I
this
guess.
year.
Now,
Yeah, it's going to be our summit. It's going to be people. I got like probably a dozen so far. People from different countries. They're working on their visas to come and use Excel. But everybody going to
yeah,
come down, have a workout on the beach. It's all catered, all free of charge. Like we don't charge
yeah.
anything. Um, and so
I don't know.
just to get together. Like a lot of them must speak English, but we'll make it work.
Yeah,
This invitation goes out to everybody. It doesn't have to be under the Worldwide Contra Kimbo Federation. They can be under anybody, or it could be Taekwondo. They could be whatever Jiu-Jitsu. Just come work out, or just come and just
yeah,
hang out and eat something and just talk story.
yeah.
So I mean, there's nothing.
I was
There's
going
no
to say, it'd
money
be a
involved.
perfect opportunity to throw something on the front, throw something on the back, where all you guys can get together and you can chat.
Yeah, I mean,
You know,
so I mean,
Whatever you
that's
want to do, or if you want to make it a different time, fine. But let's do it. Let's quit
yeah.
talking shit. Let's quit talking, stories about each other. You know,
Mm-hmm.
let's quit pointing the fingers. We have our problems, we have our issues. Yeah, there's some people that probably got promoted in different places, that shouldn't have got promoted. But we all have our stories. We all have our mistakes. Okay. And it's up to us to own those mistakes and to move forward and to correct the issues that we have. Okay.
Yeah,
We're willing to talk to you. Senior Grandmaster is willing to talk to you. Okay. Are you willing to talk to him?
yeah,
Let's put the ego away, sit down and talk, work it out. Okay. And let's move forward together. One family, stronger
good.
than ever, come up with a way forward. What's the way forward? I don't know. Okay. Um, you know, I think we need a head, to be honest with you. I don't think we can do it by leadership by committee. I think that there needs to be a leader, whether that be, Cedro's grandson, whether that be Clarence Imperato Luna, you know, whether it stays the same. I don't know. Okay. But you guys need to figure that out. Okay. I'm just, Dave Charlesworth. Okay. I'm just a seafood. I'm at the bottom of that list. Okay. Maybe one day I'll get up to the top, but that's kind of doubtful, especially with me shooting my mouth off.
Yeah, but you will. Just keep
But
hanging in there.
but it is what it is,
Yeah.
and I care a lot about Kaji Kimbo, and I care a lot about all you out there. you
All
know.
right.
So all I can say is let's come together as a family and work it out and make things good. So other than that, it's been a long video. It's been a long night. Probably got a lot more things to talk about. I probably skipped half the stuff that was on my list to talk about.
What time is it right now in Italy?
It's almost midnight.
Uh,
So it's well, it's past my bedtime. I'm an old man, you know.
uh, yeah, I got so much snow out here. It's not even funny. It's snowing all day.
Yeah, I look like I've been out in the snow with my gray hair.
Yeah, I know. I seen that. All right.
With that said, appreciate it. Appreciate coming out and talking to me there, Senior Grandmaster.
No
And
worries.
I hope that all you out there that are watching the video got something out of it. And let us know in the comments. If you like what you saw, let us know. If you didn't like what you saw, yeah, be gentle. No, you can say what you want. I don't care. It's not
Yeah.
something I've heard before. If I don't like it, I'll just delete it.
Yeah.
Um, no big deal. I'll read it first though. So
Sure.
you get your say. But in any case, I appreciate you listening, and we'll talk to you soon.
All right. Thank you. Bye bye.